Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So, tonight or today, whenever, wherever you are, I would like to talk about a book. So, tonight, I have a indie book for you. An indie book, yes. And actually, the author is fairly local. I got to meet her. She's really friendly and awesome. So, I went to an event in the Lake Jackson, Texas area, and this author was also at that event, and so we exchanged books, and I read this book, and it got me super excited. I wasn't sure what to expect from it, but I'm so happy that there's a queer romance in it, because as soon as I saw the love interest, as soon as I read about the love interest, I went, oh, please make this sapphic, and it was. So, without further ado, let me introduce The Secret and the Stone by Kirksey Baker. So, here's my paperback. So, it's a fairly light read as well, so like not too much in there. For like, if you want to do, a light novel, it's like the time passes pretty quickly. I wasn't expecting it to go by so fast, especially with just how much happens in this book. But it really does focus on kind of one place mostly, but a lot of stuff happens at that place. So, let me give you the rundown on what this is, right? The premise. So, in this young adult fantasy, our main character is Princess Aurelia. Now, she is plenty competent, she knows policy, and she is getting ready to, be a ruler. So she's hoping to prove to her father that she can do it, that she's got what it takes to be the next ruler of her kingdom. So it's pretty important to her that she does this well. So she is sent to go negotiate with a neighboring kingdom, right? So she goes on a journey, and she only goes with a royal advisor and a guard. So those two accompany her to the neighboring kingdom. Now when she gets there, she knows to anticipate the powerful queen who is looking out for her kingdom's best interests. And this powerful queen, she's pretty intimidating, so Aurelia is, just kind of mentally getting ready to do negotiations with her. But somebody else disarms her without her expecting that coming. And this someone is Princess Harper, who is the queen's daughter. Now, Princess Harper, she is not nearly as experienced in running the kingdom in comparison to Aurelia. They're both princesses though, and they both care very much about their respective kingdoms. Harper though, even though she isn't really involved super much in whatever her mother does to run the kingdom, Harper does very much care, and whenever she goes out of the castle, she listens to her citizens' concerns and brings them back to the queen. So she does have a role to play, even though she's not as involved as maybe she wants to be. But yeah, so that's setting up our main two characters, Aurelia and Harper. And as soon as Harper was introduced and Aurelia started kind of checking her out, I was going, oh please, please make this a queer romance, and it is. So, I love that. I wasn't sure what to expect, because, you know, I'm gonna support an indie author who's local, like, no matter what. But, like, I was just super hoping it would be queer, and it was, which made just this experience of reading this book all the more exciting to me. So. That's kind of where we start, is introducing, you know, those players of the main character, Aurelia, and love interest Harper, both princesses of two different kingdoms, and they're hoping to negotiate together. But the queen, who is Harper's mother, is intimidating and is kind of trying to, you know, assert her dominance over Harper because she's a lot more experienced, and so negotiations are tough. Now that's kind of the main starting issue, and that's all Aurelia is thinking she's gonna face, you know? She's thinking, oh, this is gonna be hard enough just negotiating with somebody who is more experienced than I am and who is intimidating, but I'm not gonna back down. Thing is, though, that's not all of the conflict in this book, because the longer that Aurelia stays in this castle, the more problems arise. A kind of good problem is she gets closer to Princess Harper, and, you know, romantic tension. So that's a bit of a good problem, at least. But they don't always see eye to eye. At the same time, though, they do try their best to, like, work things out by communicating and such. But I can still tell they've got a little ways to go. And this is book one of a series, so I'm looking forward to seeing how maybe they kind of start communicating even a little better. There's growth in this first book, but I can tell there's more to go. Because they kind of hide things from each other a little bit. And, yeah. So there's that. And then there's a other problem, which is, Aurelia kind of starts discovering that there's maybe magic that this kingdom is harboring, specifically somebody in the castle is harboring it. And what's so significant about this is that in this world, magic used to be commonplace. It used to be that everybody had magic. But about, say, 100 years or so before this book's events take place, the magic just suddenly, poof, disappeared. And there are, like, very few traces of it left. And, so Aurelia, when coming to this kingdom, finds, oh, there's, like, a stronger magic presence here, especially in the castle. And so as she digs, she starts to suspect that somebody is hiding and harboring magic, which is no good. It's like, essentially wielding this power over everybody else. And so that the secrets there start to become unraveled, and it causes problems not only with, like, Aurelia saying or thinking that everybody should have access to this magic, not just this kingdom. There are also problems of, like, as word gets out that maybe the castle is harboring magic, the citizens of that kingdom start actually getting not too happy with that. So in between like negotiations, Aurelia also has to deal with life and death stakes having to do with revolts from people who are not happy with how the kingdom is being run. And there's actual like death that happens during her stay, and she very much didn't expect that. She thought that the worst that was going to happen was like maybe that she couldn't prove herself worthy of running a kingdom properly. But now she's having to make sure to hide so that she is safe. And she realizes the more that she negotiates and such, she realizes, oh, I have actual people's lives in my hands. It just becomes so much more real to her, the whole running of the kingdom thing. And it's kind of a lot. So she's trying to do her best to make as many people happy as possible in a situation where that's not really possible to make everybody happy. And again, it has high stakes. So all of that, all of that is in this book. And so as I was saying, like it's not that dense in terms of like the page count. So I'm like pleasantly surprised that all of that fit in this one book. And there is more to come based on it's saying it's book 1. That, and also the revelation on the last page. Just, the revelation. Yeah, the final line, I flipped the page and I went, wait, I want more. Oh no, I have to wait for more. So, yeah. So that's kind of that's overall the premise and like how I would describe this book, right? Now, what about more details? Like, for example, the representation. So, our main two characters, they're in a fantasy world where, from what I can tell, it's not like labels of this universe are in that universe as well. So I don't know how the characters themselves would identify, if they would say they're lesbian or queer, sapphic. Not sapphic, sorry, that's describing a romance. I don't know how they would specifically refer to themselves, but they are in a queer relationship. So, in a sapphic relationship. So there's that. And also, Harper is black, or at least, they don't have this world races, the terms, they don't have that in that universe, so she's not referred to as black, but she has dark brown skin, coiled hair, or coily hair. She is described in a way that I'm pretty sure means she's black, as well as her mother. So we have black royalty. And there are, just out of the cast, there are people who are described as being essentially different races and having different sexualities. And I really appreciate that. And I'm also not completely certain on the normalcy of the relationships. To be clear, like, whenever Aurelia and Harper start kind of, like, letting other people know that they're together, nobody really questions it. Like Aurelia initially thought that Harper was not queer and wanted, like, a prince. So I think there's some, like, level of heteronormativity in the royalty, maybe. But at the same time, whenever they get together, nobody actually really seems to question all that much or disagree with them being together on the basis of like them both being girls. So I think it's normalized. Maybe, maybe not. At the same time, though, there's also like sexism in that world, so it's possible that there might not be homophobia, but there is sexism, maybe. Or maybe there is homophobia and it just isn't really addressed in this first book, or among the royalty, or among the people who are there in this book. I don't know. I feel like there's still more to explore there, and I'm curious to see if like future books address that. But as of right now, it seems like them being together isn't really questioned. So I really like that. Like that's super fun to just see read a book where royalty is just like, they're just like getting together and it's queer relationships and nobody like questions it. So yeah. What else? Oh yeah, okay, so while we're talking about like Aurelia and Harper, their character growth is really amazing, especially Harper's. I love Harper. I think she's my favorite character, because Harper really becomes more fierce and more maybe aggressive and adamant on like on her stances, but at the same time she still feels like the same selfless and kind version of her that we initially meet. But just like for reasons of like stuff she undergoes and also a bit of like magical interference, she does change as a character, and I really enjoyed seeing that. It felt really cool to me. And then let's see, the side characters too. I feel like the main focus really is on like Aurelia and Harper, but the side characters each have their own like emotional struggles, and they don't always work well together as a team, because they have differing priorities, and especially with like two different kingdoms and then different positions within each kingdom, they have different priorities and they're trying to do different things. And so when you put them all together, conflict arises. And Aurelia, while trying to make everybody happy, is kind of figuring out, oh, you can't really do that. Not always. Whenever people are just like so adamant on their own positions, sometimes you can't work together. Like sometimes there are just some situations that don't easily resolve, and that's a really hard lesson for Aurelia to learn. And just also speaking of learning, Aurelia learning about magic, I like that the reader kind of gets introduced to magic at the same pace Aurelia does, because again, it's not something that she is really used to in her lifetime. So she's kind of learning about where it exists and how it exists, and what the powers mean and such, at the same time as the readers are, so I never really felt like it was overwhelming. I felt like the way that it was explained was both kind of like, oh yeah, this is normal, this is the level of like knowledge that anybody might have about magic in this world, and it doesn't feel like too much. And I really appreciated that, because sometimes I'm a little slow on like taking in new terms and taking in all the world building and stuff, but having this story really be set like in one of the two kingdoms, and really it's primarily taking place in the castle, so there's a really, it's just really focused, I think, and it feels really nice to just read that and go, yeah, I feel like there's a sense of place here, and I'm learning at a good pace, while being in this fantasy world that, like, doesn't have anything to do with, you know, Earth, or modern Earth, as far as I can tell, you know? Yeah. And again, it's an indie book, so that's super exciting, that, to support an indie author, and, like, especially for me, it's, you know, Kirksey's local. Maybe not for you, but, like, for me, she is, and so it was really cool to meet her, and again, she's super friendly, and she was, like, a big part of why the event that I went to, why I felt like I had such a positive experience, because she was both, like, selling her books there, but also, like, helping with facilitating the event, and, so I just felt like I had a really good first experience of being a vendor and selling my books as an author at, like, a book fair kind of place. I felt really like it was a positive experience, largely because of her, and so, I was super happy to read her book, and I'm super happy that I really enjoyed it, so, now I get to share it with you, and, yeah, I highly recommend it. So, especially because I feel like indie books have a lot harder time of getting reviews for them as well, and there aren't a lot of reviews for this book so far, but most of them are, like, 5 stars, like, it's a good book, you know? So just as a, like, another showing off the book. Oh, and let me see if I can open it to the right page. Oh, it's just the front page. And it's signed, it's signed, it's signed. I'm super glad that Kirksey thought to sign it before giving it to me, because me and my silly self, while I was, like, I think it was around the time when I was, like, in the middle of the event or so, I forgot to ask if she would sign it for me, and I felt so silly about it afterwards, and so I, like, sent her a message later about how, like, I'm sorry for not asking you to sign the book, I'll have to, like, ask you to do that later. And then I opened the book to read it, and I found that it was already signed, and I felt so silly. I was going, oh, I could have just opened the book to check. But yeah, I'm happy it's signed. Because that's super cool. It adds just, like, an extra personal touch to it. And yeah. So, The Secret in the Stone. That is The Secret in the Stone by Kirksey Baker. Again, highly recommend. And thank you so much for listening. You are an awesome listener. And I hope that wherever you go next, whatever you do next, that it is fun and or relaxing and or worthwhile to you. And ideally all 3 of those things. Okay.